Alright, what is going on guys? Gino checking back in for another video today, and in this video I want to cover how to calculate your macros. Now, understanding the basics of nutrition when it comes to your calories and your macros is a very important aspect to reaching your goals in the most efficient and effective way possible. Now, whether it comes to losing fat or building muscle, you need to have an adequate understanding of how much you need in terms of your caloric intake and your macronutrient distribution or breakdown in order to tackle that goal effectively and not just wing it and wonder why you're not making the progress that you actually want. Now, before I'm going to be diving into how to calculate and set everything up, I highly recommend you to download a food tracking app. One that I always personally like to use is called MyFitnessPal, but you have a lot of different apps. So just find an app that you really like to use, one that you understand, so that it makes it easy for you to actually use the app consistently. So I like to use MyFitnessPal, but like I said, there are a lot of other apps that you can use. So first off, we're going to be starting off with calculating or finding out our maintenance calories. Your maintenance calories is also called your TDEE, which means your total daily energy expenditure. So this is the amount of calories that you will maintain your exact body weight on as of this current date. So this is a combination of your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, and the amount of calories that you burn through spontaneous activity in terms of your NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and your basic caloric expenditure, so your workouts, your work, and so forth. This is a certain amount, and the easiest way to find that out is either through trial and error, so eating a certain amount of calories, tracking your weight on a daily basis, and finding the average for the week, then comparing that week by week and seeing if you've gained or lost weight. And if it's at the same level, then that is your maintenance calories. But there are also a lot of calculators. I personally really like to use the Harris Benedict formula, which I'll put on the screen right now so that you can copy that and you can calculate that for yourself. So now that you've found out what your maintenance calories are, we're going to be starting off by calculating our macros for a cut. Now, if you're only interested in calculating your macros for a bulk, I will put a timestamp right here so that you can skip to that part to find out what macros you need or how to calculate your macros for a bulk. But right now, we're going to be starting off with your cutting macros. Alright, so when it comes to cutting, you need to understand, like I said, where your maintenance calories are. So let's just start off with an example of a caloric maintenance of 3,000 calories. So like I said, that is the amount of calories that you will maintain your exact body weight on as of this current moment. So the starting point of your cut will be 2,500 calories, which is a 500 calorie deficit on a daily basis. Now, a caloric deficit of 500 calories on a daily basis multiplied by 7 days per week will yield a caloric deficit of 3,500 calories per week, which equates to around 1 pound of fat loss per week. So that is a good starting point to actually start your fat loss phase. So we now know that you need 2,500 calories to start a cut. What you then need to do is calculate your macronutrient breakdown. Now, the general recommendation for protein intake is to go around 1 gram per pound of body weight. So you have your body weight multiplied by 1, that is basically the amount of protein that you need to eat on a daily basis. Or if you're in the metric system like I am, you need to multiply your body weight in kilograms by 2.2. So 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. Now, like I said, this is a general recommendation if you're at a lean body fat level. So if you are above 25% body fat, you are better off taking your lean body mass. Now, there are lots of calculators on the internet that will calculate your estimated lean body mass. So I'll put a link down in the description so that you can calculate your estimated lean body mass. Since if you're overweight and you'll eat 1 gram per pound of body weight or 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, you will end up eating a little bit too much protein compared to what you actually need in order to maximize muscle protein synthesis and actually use the protein that you're eating. Because at the end of the day, if you're eating way too much protein compared to what you actually need, you're better off giving more of those calories to your carbohydrate intake. But I'll go more in depth on that later on in this video. So now that we know how much protein we need, we'll go over to fats. Now, in my personal opinion, a minimum fat intake of around 50 grams is great, so that you still have all of the benefits that come from eating fat, since fats are very important for hormone regulation and production. So if you go way too low fat, you might actually eventually, the lower your body fat gets, run into some problems with hormonal regulation, especially since when you get leaner, you will eventually experience some negative hormonal adaptations in terms of your leptin, your ghrelin, your testosterone and so forth. So at the bare minimum, eat around 50 grams of fat during your cutting phase. Since carbohydrates fuel your workouts a lot better than fats, you're better off keeping your fat at a maximum of 70 grams and then leaving the rest of the calories for your carbohydrate intake. So for this example, we'll go with 180 grams of protein for a 180 pound person and 70 grams of fat as the maximum amount of fat that you can take in during this cutting phase. And then we're moving on to carbohydrates. Now, like I said, you need 1 gram per pound of body weight in protein. You need around a minimum of 50 grams of fat and a maximum of 70 grams of fat, and the rest will simply be filled with carbohydrates. So, depending on how much you need in protein, how much you need in fat, you will calculate the difference between your caloric requirement and how much calories these two equate up to be, and then fill the rest with your carbohydrates. So now we're coming down to the math. So for this example of 2500 calories for a cut, we're going to be calculating how much calories are in 100 grams of protein, 70 grams of fat, and then take that off of the 2500 calories for the cut. So 1 gram of protein equates to 4 calories. 1 gram of fat equates to 9 calories. So you then multiply 1 gram of fat and 1 gram of protein for the amount of grams that you're going to be eating. So times 4 or multiplied by 4 will equate to 720 calories coming from protein. Then we have 70 grams of fat multiplied by 9 calories, which comes down to 630 calories coming from fat. Now, like I said, we need 2500 calories to start the cutting phase. So what we then do is we add 720 with 630 calories coming from protein and fat. We take that off of the 2500 calories we need to start the cut, which comes down to 1150 calories, which we can still get from carbohydrates, which we then need to divide by 4 calories, since 1 gram of carbohydrates equates to 4 calories, which will actually be 287.5 grams of carbs, but to round it up, we're going to be eating 290 grams of carbohydrates. And these will be your macros to start your cutting phase. But of course you need to put your own information into this calculation so you can calculate your own starting macros for your cutting phase. So now that you know how to calculate your cutting macros, we're going to be going over to your bulking macros. Alright, so now we're moving on to our bulking macros. Again, we're taking the example of a maintenance caloric level of 3000 calories. So again, this is the amount of calories that you maintain your exact body weight on at this very moment. So for our bulking calories, we're actually going to be having a range from 3200 calories up to 3400 calories. And this will depend on your level of advancement, since beginners can get away with a lot more weight gain per month and it actually being primarily lean muscle mass. And the more advanced you are, the better off you are with a slower rate of weight gain. So you're then better off going for 3200 calories on a daily basis. Because if you're more advanced and you have been lifting for a couple of years, you won't be gaining as much muscle mass as a beginner, since your body is already pretty used to the stimulus of weight training. So going for a slower rate of weight gain will minimize the amount of fat that you gain during a bulk and allow you to stick to a caloric surplus for a longer time without having to cut every 3 months because you're gaining too much body fat, right? So keep this in mind when you choose the range of calories that you're going for. But for the example of the calculation that we're going to be making, we're going for 3300 calories, which is kind of the sweet spot between the two. So then, our protein. Again, we're going for 1 gram per pound of body weight, or if you're in the metric system like me, we're going for 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. If your body fat is above 25%, you're better off going for 1 gram per pound of lean body mass or 2.2 grams per kilogram of lean body mass. Simply because if your body fat is higher, you won't need all that extra protein, since we only need it to fuel our lean body mass and the amount of muscular damage that we've created during our workouts to promote that recovery and growth process while muscle protein synthesis is running. And thus you can stimulate that by eating protein. So keep that in mind when you choose the amount of protein that you need for your own body type and your body composition at the very moment. But for this example, we're going for 180 grams of protein for the calculation. Now for fats, it's a little bit of a different story when it comes to cutting and bulking. Now like I said, for cutting, a minimum of 50 grams is recommended to keep your hormone regulation and production running properly enough. But for a bulk, a minimum of 70 grams and a maximum of 80 up to 90 grams, which is kind of a range is plenty, since the same goes for cutting and bulking. Carbohydrates are your main fuel for performance in the gym. So if you want to ensure that you have enough glycogen in your muscles, then you're better off keeping your fats in between this range and then giving the remaining calories to your carbohydrate intake, which would then lead to you potentially having better workouts and actually increase your performance in the gym, which is especially important if you're bulking, since you want to gain more muscle mass. So for the kind of sweet spot, we're going for 85 grams of fat. So like I said, carbohydrates, especially when bulking, they're very important to take in, especially if you want to fuel the workouts that you're going to be doing. Now, since volume may potentially be a little bit higher when you're in a caloric surplus, you need to ensure that you have enough carbohydrates in your system to actually fuel the workouts that you're going to be doing, ensuring that you can make adequate progress, promote progressive overload, and actually make progress in terms of muscle gain. So we're going to be filling the rest with carbohydrates for performance. So now we're coming down to the calculation of our macronutrient breakdown. So again, we're going to be assuming that we weigh 180 pounds, which comes down to 1 gram per pound of body weight. For fats, we're going to be going for 85 grams. So then we're going to be multiplying 180 grams of protein with 4 calories, since 1 gram of protein equates to 4 calories, which will give us 720 calories coming from protein. We're going to be doing the same for fats, so we have 85 grams of fat multiplied by 9 calories, so then we have 765 calories coming from fats. So then we're going to be taking our 3300 calories, which is our bulking calories. We're going to be taking off 720 calories and then 765 calories, which are the calories coming from protein and fat, which leaves us with 1815 calories, which we can give to carbohydrates. So what we're now going to be doing is we're going to be dividing 1815 calories by 4 calories, since 1 gram of carbohydrates comes down to 4 calories, which will then leave us with a rounded up number of 455 grams of carbohydrates, which will then be our bulking macros. So like I said, for both bulking and cutting, these are going to be your starting calories. So what will end up happening, since our metabolism will always adapt to the amount of calories that we're giving our body, we're going to be plateauing. And that will go for both bulking and for cutting, as you gain weight and as you lose weight. So for cutting, what you have to do when you start plateauing on the starting calories of your cut is simply take off 100 calories. That will bust you through that fat loss plateau, and that 100 calories are best taken off from your carbohydrate intake. So again, 1 gram of carbohydrates comes down to 4 calories. So 100 calories comes down to 25 grams of carbohydrates. Like I said, this is your best option, since fats are important for hormone regulation and production. But if you're not at the bare minimum of 50 grams and you're at around 70 grams, then you can choose to take off 10 grams of fat, which comes down to 90 calories, which is basically the same. But keep in mind, you shouldn't, in my opinion, go below 50 grams, since you really need it for hormone regulation and production, especially the leaner that you get. That's also why it's important to keep your starting calories at 500 calories below your maintenance, right? If you start off at 1800 calories at the start of your cut, you're not giving yourself any room to make any more progress, since you're going closer and closer, or you're starting off very close to your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, and that is the amount of calories that your body actually needs to function properly. And anything below that will just ensure that your body wants to hold on to body fat as much as possible, since we're going into survival mode. So ensure that you're 500 calories below your maintenance, and then decrease 100 calories as you plateau on that certain amount of calories. Now you can also choose to add in a little bit of cardio, but what you have to keep in mind is that it is the exact same as lowering your calories. So if you lower your calories by 100 per day, you will end up with an extra caloric deficit of 700 calories, which will then mean that if you want to add cardio instead of lowering your calories, you need to do 700 calories of cardio for the total of the week. So however you want to spread that out, that is simply the amount of cardio that you need to do. Now for bulking, like I said, you will also eventually plateau on a certain amount of calories. So what you're then going to be doing is simply adding 100 calories, which will again bust you through that weight gain or muscle gain plateau. And also for bulking, you're best off choosing to up your carbohydrate intake, since that will fuel your performance in the gym. Right, and that is all for this video, guys. I sincerely hope you all enjoyed and learned something from the information that I gave in this video. If you have any questions regarding bulking and cutting, and the calculation of the macronutrients that you need for whatever goal you have personally, then please let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please smash the like button because it really helps out the channel grow. Comment down below and subscribe to the channel for so much more content coming really soon. I'm out, guys, and peace out. See you in the next one.